11 o'clock, three-man front on this Wednesday. A lot of college football news. We continue the coaching carousel conversation. Who's going to fill the vacancy in Baton Rouge? Who is going to fill the vacancy in Gainesville, Fayetteville, potentially Lexington, Auburn? Maybe. But it's now time for our friend Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. He's presented to us each and every week by our good friends at Craneworks.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rental Works, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Crimson Tide Network's Chris Stewart on Three Man Front is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it. The big dog's got it. And now, Chris Stewart.
Chris joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Mr. Stewart, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys doing?
Oh, doing great. I can imagine that spirits are high there in Tuscaloosa and certainly around the broadcast booth. You go from cigar smoking a win over Tennessee to shaking all that sand out of your clothes and out of your hair from Columbia that we got on.
Storm.
Yeah,
very good.
It was quite the storm. Based on our conversation last week leading into the game, Chris, what we thought maybe South Carolina could do to present problems for Alabama offensively, defensively. What did you see from the Gamecocks and how they approached and attacked the Tide?
They did what I think most teams are probably going to do the rest of the way, and that's play their best against the Tide. Really good. And Alabama, I thought when it was 14-6, at halftime or late second quarter, I can't remember which it was now, but I really thought we'd kind of weathered a storm because I felt like they'd outplayed Alabama, and yet we still managed to have a pair of touchdowns on the board, and they only had the 2 field goals. So felt pretty good about things. But to their credit, they continued on and played well in the third, and Bama still couldn't get anything going offensively. And then when it became that 8-point game, just really, I'm not going to say completely flipped the switch, but started to, we hear Kalen say it all the time. You got to stack plays and you got to stack days. When he's talking about the team as a whole and the program and all of that. And they did stack plays one after the other on that drive. And there gets a point where it's going to be the last drive and you're either going to get it done or you're not. And it was really impressive to see them grind that out, get it done. And then obviously what happened after that was terrific from the defensive standpoint. But it was special because it wasn't, you found a way to get it done when you weren't at your best and when you absolutely had to have it.
Are you surprised at how aggressive Kalen DeBoer has been this year offensively going forward on fourth down?
Not shocked at all. Maybe a time or two you're a little bit surprised. But the reality of, I think we kind of got spoiled when you have a Will Reichard and, you're across midfield and you feel like you've got a legitimate chance of getting 3 as opposed to the spot you're in right now. And that's not a shot at Connor. It's just the reality of the situation. And, I think there's a trust level with him at a certain range, but the long kicks, the extremely long kicks, you gain nothing by punting it and you don't lose a lot if you fail. So, and plus they've just been so good in those situations that I think they are so confident in who and what they are offensively that they figure why not. It's not the Lane Kiffin approach of going for it almost anytime, anywhere. It's not that reckless, but there is a real belief in who and what they are and what they can get done offensively. And so the down and distance doesn't seem to matter that much.
If there's an area on the offense that needs to continue to prove, and I know the old coach speak adage, right? We need to keep getting better everywhere, every single week, Chris. Yeah. But would it be that offensive line?
I think so, but I think they're making steps that direction. I really do. I know that, in a perfect world, you've got the five guys across the front, not counting the tight end, but kept the five across the front that you know you can count on, play in and play out, and you're riding them, to the finish line on that. But I think they've realized that where they're at their best is with the numbers piece of it, and um, being able to play um, seven or eight guys along that front has made them better over the course of an entire game. They've got, everybody talks about you got to run it better, and I don't disagree with that. Um, but I do feel like what they do in the short passing game, it's basically extended handoffs, and it takes the place of the run game or the traditional, handoff. And there's so much that's done that may not go as an official run, but it still gets the same thing accomplished. You're putting so much pressure on the defense, and then I think we've shown that they can run it late. The run from Daniel Hill on that final drive, or next to last drive, I guess it was the one that tied it. He had a couple of really nice runs in a traditional, line it up, hand it to you, or pitch it to you situation that were really effective. But the way they use Jeremy Bernard is so creative as well. Whether it's a flip to him, whether it's a direct snap, whether it's a handoff, um, those are all plays that accomplish the same thing, which is moving the football and ultimately getting it in the end zone. And while they may have struggled to do that for 3+ quarters last weekend, they found a way to get it done in the last 3 minutes and when it was on the line.
Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, brought to you by Craneworks, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I'm just curious because obviously Doak Campbell was lit for Alabama in week 1. It seemed like on television and listening to you on the broadcast, Chris, that it was definitely a fired up crowd there in Columbia. If you could compare and contrast that environment that you witnessed in Columbia, compare that to what was going on in Tallahassee.
It's I thought it was louder. I may be wrong. I don't know. I wasn't necessarily listening from that perspective. Plus, I was so nauseous in Tallahassee that it was kind of tough to think about a whole lot. But I've heard so much about Columbia, and while I've been there a ton of times for baseball and basketball, and I've, over the years since I started doing baseball back in 2000, I've probably done 30 baseball games plus in Columbia, and basketball is now getting close to 15 if I haven't done that many. But I had never done football when we were back in 2010 when you had that tough loss to Stephen Garcia. I wasn't. Tyler Watts and I were doing the replay broadcast, but we didn't travel on the road. We did the pre and the post, but we didn't go on the road for that one. So that was the only good thing for me in that one, is that I didn't actually make that trip. 2019, I was in the hospital, so I didn't travel that year. But to go this time and to actually experience it in person, now granted, I enjoyed them leaving a whole lot more than I did them, with Sandstorm and all of that leading up to their final disappointment. But it was every bit as loud and electric as advertised. And I give them so much credit there, because when you're, this sounds like a backhanded compliment, and I don't mean it that way. When you are accustomed to winning at a high level, it's easy to be loud and have, a lot of enthusiasm and interest. But that's a place that doesn't have great history of winning at the highest level, but they have a great reputation of having fans that are into it and loud. And they didn't disappoint on Saturday. Now, they were disappointed, thankfully. It went from a field storming to a mass exodus, but it was a really good environment, and every bit as, it's a great stadium, and every bit as loud as been told that it would be.
How disappointed are you that Brian Kelly's not going to be coaching LSU when the Tide invites him into Bryant Denny?
I am. It'd been fun to beat him again, but it's that's their situation, and thank goodness. But it is crazy. I mean, you look at it, and it's why I think it's so important to have stable, confident, competent leadership at the top level. And Alabama's very fortunate to have that. Um, there were a lot of people panicking. And now again, I don't know that they were the ones that matter most, but there were some people panicking after the Florida State loss. And if you had given a list after week one of people that would be gone by this time, um, some of the ones that are gone or have been gone for a couple of weeks probably wouldn't have been on that list, and Kalen DeBoer's name may have been, which to me is another great example of why you don't make knee-jerk reactions either way. And we're fortunate, I think, that we've got leadership and direction that understands big picture rather than whichever way the wind's blowing at the moment. Because I joke but it's not like Brian Kelly forgot how to coach. I mean, some of the things that people love to talk about now as a reason why they had to fire him, it's not like those are new. If you're going to talk about him being a tough fit and unlikable or low level of likability, however you want to phrase it, it's not like that's new. That's just what you use as the excuse now that he's losing. There's nothing really, other than the fact that it was 3 straight losses. There wasn't a whole lot about James Franklin that's new either. The Billy Napier move could have been made a year ago. I think one of the reasons they hesitated on it is they thought, there was conversation that Florida may make a change on their men's basketball coach before the season ever got started because of what turned out to be, unfounded rumors of things. And here we are, a year later, and Billy is gone, and they're winning a national championship with that staff. So it's a deep breath, a pause, and 2 or 3 wins in a row can certainly change the perspective on a lot of different things.
In our remaining minutes, Chris, I wanted to ask you about the basketball season that is quickly approaching because this is a bye week for Alabama football. Just your overall thoughts of this year's campaign for the Tide.
No, I'm excited about it. I saw him in Birmingham at Boutwell, and I watched online a good bit of what happened at Furman on Sunday. And I think, again, there's a long way to go before you get to March and then you start looking at championships. But I think Alabama's going to be in a familiar spot, and that's very competitive and factor into the SEC championship picture. They're going to be tested incredibly well long before we ever get to Christmas, and certainly before the start of SEC play. But I like what I've seen so far. I think there's depth. You've got a guy, in more than one guy, you can put the ball in his hands. And look, we know that Mark Sears is very difficult to replace, but it looks like LeBaron Fineline's ready to pick up where he left off at the end of last year and has worked extremely hard to take his game to another level and is ready to be the go-to guy. But he's not going to have to worry about that by himself. He's got a lot of help and a lot of options, and I think it's going to be a fun year again.
Should be a lot of fun as Alabama basketball gets ready to tip off like everybody else across the country, first part of November. Chris, each and every week, Craneworks gives us the opportunity to catch up with you and talk a little Alabama football and basketball.
Yep, Craneworks. It's the most trusted name for crane and equipment rental in the Southeast for 3 decades now. Fleet of cranes and a wide range of them, whether you're looking for something 2.5 tons all the way to 500 tons. They've got trained and certified operators making sure the job you need done is done right. And they're also located throughout the state and Southeast, Birmingham, Nashville, Mobile, and now in Huntsville as well. Craneworks.com is where you can go online and find out more information.
Chris, always appreciate your time. Enjoy the rare off weekend as we get ready for the finale of the Alabama football season. Appreciate it as always. Talk next Wednesday.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you all.
Thanks. Chris joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Get into the Finnick this afternoon, this evening. You can catch all the sports, a wonderful menu, and some acoustic music live there at the Finnick, 1630 2nd Avenue South tonight. You've got college football, Jacksonville State at Middle Tennessee. They're going to have that on one of the video boards also. If you're interested, FIU taking on Missouri State. And we have Game 5 of the World Series between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. That continues into Thursday night, Friday night. All the ball that you want to catch through the weekend, whether it's college or whether it's the NFL. A lot of NFL fan groups gathered together at the Finnick. Enjoy that award-winning menu, whether it's the shareables, the handhelds, the fork and knife. You can get it all there at the Finnick. Live bands cranking up on Fridays at 10 o'clock, but all of that goes away Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's all dedicated to you football fans. The Finnick, 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park.
When we come back, we'll open up the phone lines, 1-800-239-WJOX. Get to your text messages at 205-834-9450 on the Courtesy GMC text line. It is 11:20 on this rainy Wednesday. Welcome back into Three Man Front. Appreciate Chris Stewart, Brian Edwards already joining the program. We'll talk to Nick Roush at noon from Kentucky Sports Radio, preview the Kentucky Auburn game, and what's up with Mark Stoops. Can he survive and come back for another year? Trey Wallace from Outkick will join the program at 12:30. Just saw this a few moments ago. The LSU Board of Supervisors, they're going to meet on November 4th to hire the next president of Louisiana State University. So that is a good thing because you like to have a president seated, ready to go with anybody that you're going to bring up to potentially be the next head coach there at LSU. So they're in the process. So I guess the governor still will have the ultimate power in the state, but having a president in place will go a long way for them in regards to what they will do next from a coaching perspective.
Yeah, and something that Chris brought up, it might have been Chris or it might have been Brian that brought it up, but teams having to wait around for coaches that could potentially be in the college football playoff. Do we see more of what LSU did with Brian Kelly when they got him from Notre Dame? I feel like if you're going to get an elite guy, you almost have to say, look, we're going to make the commitment. We're going to give you this insane amount of money. This is the commitment we're making. You're going to have to be here in some capacity. Or maybe there's schools that say that's fine. Just get your staff here. They can start recruiting and you coach whatever you need to do to complete your time. What do you think?
I think it's much easier now than it was when Kirby Smart had to turn Auburn down because Auburn wanted him to come on campus immediately. And he says, I owe it to my team. I owe it to the players that I'm going to coach in the national championship game for Alabama. And so Auburn had to move on from Kirby Smart. I think now because of the transfer portal and NIL, if you have a commitment, obviously you can't have it in writing, but if you have some type of understanding, let's just say Lane Kiffin, he has a so-called handshake deal with LSU or Florida, name the school, Oklahoma State. He's ready to leave. Then at that point in time, the school obviously that he would be going to is going to put a lot of faith in that gentleman's agreement, which is kind of laughable, but, see what happens. So I don't think it's necessary. I mean, the fans are going to think your team is not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Like you're sitting there and you're twisting in the wind. You really don't have any prospects where really behind closed doors, you've already got a deal cut with someone. Because Bill Clark told us on his show a couple weeks ago that he's had some opportunities come up in the past, and he has basically said, I am not interviewing like on campus. Like I'm not coming and someone's going to get, and I know I'm paraphrasing, correct me if you think I'm wrong in this assessment, that I'm not going to walk on campus and walk into somebody's office and have an interview.
Right.
He did pretty much say that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's at that point in his career. Look, if you know what I'm about, you know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to go through the dog and the pony show.
I'll never forget Auburn was on the cusp of hiring Mike Anderson from UAB.
Yep.
And Mike
Chainsaw
Anderson,
Ed Richardson demanded that he come down there and interview.
Yeah. So, I mean, coaches get all weird about that. I'm not saying that's weird for Bill Clark. I'm just saying in general, coaches are like, I'm not a rookie coach. Like, you know my resume.
Well, in some cases, you've got let's just say you're an up-and-comer, I don't know, whoever. You're at a program. There's a lot of excitement around there. The last thing that you want to do is go along with 4 other candidates, interview for a job on somebody's campus, not get the job, and then go back to your fan base and go, hey, let's get excited about next season. That's kind of tough to do.
Yeah.
Now, in some cases, it makes it easier because your fan base understands, well, he's interviewing for the Notre Dame job.
But see,
get it.
That's the problem in this cycle because Lane Kiffin is squarely in the conversation for the college football playoff. Clark Lee is in the center of the conversation for the college football playoff. Those two guys are going to be a wanted commodity. I think, obviously, Eli Drinkwitz the last couple of weeks, that's kind of gone in the opposite direction in regards to Missouri's potential of playing in the CFP. But when you've got two guys like Clark Lee and Lane Kiffin at their current teams trying to get ready for a college football playoff, that's a very delicate tightrope to walk in regards to trying to potentially go to somewhere else as opposed to where you are.
But those preliminary conversations, like when Marcus Freeman's name was brought up from Notre Dame, they reach out to his representation. His representation says, let's just say on a Sunday afternoon, hey, Marcus, by the way, I got a phone call from Florida. Would you ever entertain maybe coaching there? No, shut it down. Not interested. That's not one of those jobs. All right, well, they get back, and then Florida can move on. Sometimes.
And we also know that the agents know it's good business to keep another option because it's all about leverage.
Well, if you're Jimmy Sexton, you control all the players.
Absolutely.
You just got to find positions for them on the field. And sometimes you're creating a position in one instance to fill another, but you've got that guy that's about to get fired and, by the way, get paid all of that guaranteed money that you're going to get a cut of, and you find him another job.
That's why it's so interesting because even during the Alabama search, you had Sarkisian, and Sarkisian parlayed that into getting his new deal in Austin. You had Mike Norvell, who his name was out there, and then he got his ridiculous new deal in Tallahassee, which folks there are beating their head up against the wall that they're going to have to deal with that possibly at the end of the year. So, yeah, but you mention it. Okay, you might not like this candidate. You might not like Landrum Roberts, but I do have Conrad Van Order under contract. I represent him. So if Landrum's not your cup of tea, then I've got another young guy over here who is willing to take a little bit less than Landrum, but I could bring him to the forefront and you can hire him.
Yeah, we bring back Gus Malzahn at Auburn when Arkansas. Remember there was that fear? And you had a couple of power brokers that said, I'm not giving him another red cent. If he wants to go to Arkansas, tell him to go to Arkansas. No, we need a guarantee. This is good. We need to secure him for the future. And they do that, and you see what happens. But ultimately, at the end of the day, who wins? Has Jimmy Sexton ever lost in one of these?
No, and he never will. He controls too much of the marketplace.
And then you look at a potential head coach and you go, oh, he's not represented by Jimmy Sexton. He is represented by a guy that works for Jimmy Sexton.
Right. He works inside the office.
Yeah.
They need to have, because, they have all these fun, theme board games. They need Jimmy Sexton Monopoly. So instead of Park Place, you're getting Nick Saban or something like that.
That's good.
That would be a fantastic Christmas gift for college football fans. Jimmy Sexton Monopoly.
That's good.
It's right there. I'll take
6
10%.
degrees of Jimmy Sexton.
There's a lot of
kind of
ways
like
we
the
can go
Kevin
with
Bacon
this.
game. It all comes back to Jimmy Sexton. Didn't James Franklin change to Jimmy Sexton a couple of years ago?
Absolutely.
Why
Sure
wouldn't
did.
you want Jimmy Sexton? I mean, honestly, if you have the option, why wouldn't you want him as your agent?
I think it's pretty bad if Jimmy Sexton turns you down to be your agent.
That's true.
Like,
Well-
like who's the coach that said, "Nah, I'm not."
I've heard of instances where he told a coach, you can take that deal against my advice, but I'm firing you as a client.
It's
Because
just
we're not
crazy.
setting that precedent for these other athletic directors and presidents to think that they can get away with that.
It's just wild because I remember growing up, and I mean, I guess this is more baseball, but, all the stories you would hear about, like Scott Boras, right? And all the power that he had. And in my opinion, that pales in comparison to what Jimmy Sexton has right now in college football.
Yeah, it's interesting because you bring up Boras. Many Major League Baseball teams, they just will not deal with Scott Boras. Like I don't care who you have. I don't care if you represent Shohei Ohtani and you're telling me that I can get a big discount. They hated Scott Boras so much that it's a non-starter. Like we're not even dealing with him.
By the way, if you don't think, and I know they get asked about it and they say all the right things, I'd say the same thing about these potential openings for existing head coaches, but they all know what's going on. The talk, their agents, their representation, they're the first ones to know. Current head coaches, they knew it a couple of years ago when it was, hey, is Stoops going to go to A&M? Hey, we're hearing that next 24 hours decide if Napier's out in Florida. If that's the case, then my client, they're already staging. It's fascinating to watch behind the scenes if you're privy to it.
So when do we think Lane Kiffin was privy to, hey, just letting you know, if you want to go to LSU, that opportunity is about to present itself? Like, do we think halftime of the LSU-Texas, or like the third quarter when that game got sideways, he's getting a phone call of, just letting you know?
Well, based on one of the stories that we were told or heard, that inside the press box, or where all the very important members of the LSU Board of Supervisors, the governor was literally going around saying, okay, do I have your support? Do I have your support? Like the governor was ready to like walk down on the field and fire Brian Kelly
Yeah.
on national television.
Mhm.
I mean, he was getting all of his ducks in a row up in the sky boxes before the game was even in the fourth quarter.
He was going to pull a Nick Sheridan last year.
Absolutely.
Arrest that man.
Yeah. Turn his key card off.
I just think that, like you said, the behind the scenes of it would be so fascinating of Lane Kiffin. And, you just imagine him sitting there like, oh, man, do I want to go to Florida? And then you get a phone call and it's, well, hang on, Lane.
Well, it was.
What about Baton Rouge?
It's Pat and I. We have friends that are coaches at the high school level and the college level. And I was just having a casual conversation with a coach who had just wrapped up his season. And he's like, hang on. That's my agent. And he answered. And then he comes back like 2 minutes later and he says, all right, sorry. You're not going to believe this. And it's just, that's kind of a sneak peek of how it works. But they are very well informed. Everybody's more clued in as far as head coaches knowing what's going on and what's going on behind the scenes at other places than they might lead you to believe.
We will open up the phone lines, 1-800-239-WJOX. The Courtesy GMC text line is open if you'd like to talk about the coaching carousel. All that straight ahead on Three Man Front. $11:35 on Jocks, 1-800-239-WJOX on a rainy Wednesday. Kentucky Auburn coming up this weekend. We will go up to the state of Kentucky, talk to Nick Roush, good friend of ours from Kentucky Sports Radio, get his preview of the big game coming up from Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Speaking of that, on the text line, somebody asking, do you guys think that Auburn could pull Coach Bill Clark? Me and Pat will get that done today. Right? Let's speak for Coach. We'll get it done today.
It'd be a great hire.
What are terms? We want guaranteed money.
I mean, we're going to be part of the staff, right?
We want the key, of course.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yes.
What do you want? Special teams?
No. I want to
What do you
be
want?
a consultant to the general manager that makes six figures.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yep.
I want to be the get back coach.
I want to be the it's called, you just call it the FU coach to the general manager. No, those alternate uniforms, don't do those that night. Here's a combination that'll work. This will excite the fan base. Seems like you have so many positions of guys. You go down the staffs of big time college football programs. Woo! Get you one of those jobs.
Hey,
and then you find out where the bodies are buried and they can't fire you. They relocate you within the department. That's the sweet job.
Since he won't be in Bryant-Denny Stadium this weekend, I know what Conrad's going to be doing Saturday night. He is going to absolutely be in heaven.
Stomping.
You know why? Because his favorite color is orange.
By the way, sorry. I know it's not your favorite.
That's not a good shade.
It's burnt.
It looks nice on you, but not a good shade.
Thank you.
So for those just now tuning into this program, Conrad loves the color orange. It's his favorite color, which is weird because he's an Alabama graduate.
But he doesn't like burnt orange on me.
But he likes orange.
Yes, best color.
And Tennessee is wearing black helmets, black jerseys, black pants with orange accents Saturday night against Oklahoma.
Those are going to be sharp. It's a good look.
Black helmets.
Here's what I think they should do. Halloween themed. You got the black helmet. Do a jack-o'-lantern.
On one side,
But
and then the T on the other
like
one?
a hidden block T
In the jack-o'-lantern's
in
mouth?
the jack-o'-lantern San Diego Padre style.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Did you know that they were doing that Saturday night?
I did not.
Yeah.
That will look very good, almost as good as
A black Alabama helmet?
black and crimson. But
Draw the sucker up.
no, that will be. That's a good looking uniform. I like when they do the charcoal with the
The smoky gray?
yeah, the smoky gray with the orange. I think that's a sharp look too. So good for them. The orange, the Tennessee orange, while gross on its own, when it's not the dominant color,
Gross on its own.
yeah, but when it's not the dominant color, it's very pleasing to the eyes. But when you just get too much of it, it's
Well, disgusting by itself.
Exactly.
When paired with a nice
Periwinkle.
that's right.
gray polyester, you can really pull this off this fall.
That'll be sharp. It's a big game there for the Vols and the Sooners.
That's a
Very big game.
pretty
See,
much whoever loses that one's out.
Yep.
You see where I'm going with that?
That looks good.
We could do something with that.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good idea. Anything to help our brethren out in East Tennessee.
So Landrum's going to be
So it's
graphic
like,
design. That's going to be his job in the
Conrad,
football
can you see
department.
that?
I can. Yeah, I like it.
We can work with that,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it looks good.
YouTube, hang on. I'm going to have colored pencils that I'm going to fill this in and make it look really good for you guys at home. No, I do remember it was a Lane Kiffin game because Monty was his defensive coordinator. They played Auburn, and that might have been Chiswick's first year. Have to check me on that, but they played. It was Halloween, I believe, and it was the jack-o'-lantern uniforms. I'll wait 10 seconds for the delay for somebody to correct me, but I think that actually happened. And that's a good look. But they're going to wear the all black. That'll look really good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's hard to screw that look up.
Yes, it is.
I'm not a fan.
Well,
Of
that's
course.
just
Now, what does that mean?
I was going back to Class 7A Region 3 because there is a school that will feature those uniforms, and it's Hoover, and I think it's a really good look.
No, that is a good look. I have sworn to Coach Floyd at Hewitt. You know, we had a black jersey a couple years ago, and just for selfish purposes, I hated it. You know why?
Why?
Because with that particular jersey and where we are in the press box, I really had a problem with 8s and 6s.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. An 8 or a 6, that'll trip you up.
And not to mention the fact that a lot of times, especially in high school, their jerseys will ride up. And so all of a sudden an 8 becomes a 0.
I had that problem last week where the team that Mount Brook was playing, they had 2 running backs. One was number 6 and one was number 8. And it was impossible to tell the difference between them because of how the jerseys were situated. Impossible.
I'm sitting here looking. It looks like when Tennessee wears their black jerseys, they have won 67% of their games. When they wear the black helmet, this might be the first time that they've gone all black, like black jersey, black pants, black helmet.
Yeah.
But they have done a black helmet with the smoky gray, and they're 3-3 in those games.
Okay, maybe Alabama pumped the brakes on that one. Maybe we don't want to go down that path.
But that might not have been updated recently. But you're still holding out. Have you, since you've been in the press box for every Alabama game?
Oh, I sprinkle it in there every now and then.
And what kind of reaction do you get?
Not
I mean,
good.
I'm talking about like from the old guard.
Not good.
I'm talking about like the Rodney Orrs.
Yeah, no, not good. Nah, they're not a fan of that. Which I get it. Tradition. I'm just saying, keep it in your back pocket. One day you might want to do it. Doesn't have to be next weekend.
So Andy Staples from On3, he has just released his hot seat rankings. Just updated those. Coming in at number 10, Brent Venables. Number 9, Luke Fickell. 8, Mike Loxley. Dave Aranda at 7, Bill Belichick 6, Dave Doran at NC State 5, Jonathan Smith, man, he has fallen off the complete map. He is 4th from Michigan State. Mike Norvell is number 3. Who do you think number 2 and number 1 is?
Oh. Freeze and Stoops.
Which order?
Stoops and Freeze.
Stoops 2. No, Stoops 1, he Freeze 2.
Yeah, I concur.
According to Andy Staples, coming in at number 2 is Hugh Freeze. And number 1 on the hot seat rankings, just updated moments ago, Mark Stoops.
There we go.
Okay, 2009, they did wear, thank you, Collins from Pell City.
You're talking about
Tennessee did
Tennessee.
wear those uniforms. They did not wear them against Auburn. They wore them against South Carolina. But I think that there had been talk when Auburn played Tennessee that they were, I don't know, there was talk about the uniforms, potentially breaking those out. But yeah, that's what happened.
It's halftime of the kickoff sales event at Courtesy GMC. Right now, get up to $15,000 off the remaining 2025 Sierra 1500s and 2500s. The absolute lowest price you're going to find anywhere in the state of Alabama. The all-new 2026 Sierras. They are rolling in daily at Courtesy GMC in Trussville. And for a limited time, they're marked at the 2025 model year pricing. And remember, every new GMC comes with a Courtesy exclusive 7-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Get by and see them. 9 acres of inventory to peruse. Their truck inventory is through the roof. I was by there just a couple days ago, and it is very impressive. You can also look online at courtesybirmingham.com. Get your oil change there. You need new tires, they can take care of that. You got a little ding up, how about Body Shop? Award-winning. Go by and see Drew Lally, Josh Gargis, the fantastic team there at Courtesy GMC in Trussville, right off of I-459, exit 32 in Trussville.
Who's going to get hired? Who's going to get fired? You've heard some of the Vegas odds. We'll catch you up on the rest around college football as three-man front continues on this Wednesday on Jocks. 11:48. Thank you for all the great pictures you send in on the Jocks text line. Faye, can't wait to see you and your cousin and your get-up that you have for Halloween. We have learned of your fascination of one Conrad Van Order. Faye from Childersburg. Woo. She is a bird.
Wait, Faye's back?
No, but I'm seeing if I can summon Faye.
Oh.
She has a fascination if you've never listened to a text from Faye. Typically, it's a Friday before a big game, but Faye,
She texted
really
in yesterday,
has
right?
taken a liking to one Conrad Van Order. And they get after it, apparently. Not, but they like to party for the Alabama games to the tune of Crimson Tide dog collars. And
I'm very flattered.
suppressants. It's the only way to clean that up.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that described with that word before, but I guess it works.
205-834-9450 on the text line. We appreciate everyone texting in. This one coming in, comparing Scott Boras and Jimmy Sexton. No, says this listener. Scott Boras has literally done billions and billions of dollars for contracts in Major League Baseball. Jimmy Sexton muscles his way around ADs a few $1,000,000 at a time. Kindergarten as opposed to PhD.
Well,
Mr. Sexton, I did not say that. I am just reading the text line.
Well, my point about that had nothing to do with the dollar amounts. It's just the power that they have in the sport in which they preside, which Jimmy Sexton is
There's
the most
nobody
powerful
better.
man in college football. And I think at some time you maybe could have made the argument for Boras in MLB, but I don't know if I'd say it's the same now. But yes, Scott Boras obviously has negotiated bigger contracts than Jimmy Sexton.
Hasn't it gotten to the point, would this be fair to say that Jimmy Sexton and CAA, they have gotten so big where they've almost in turn made it problematic if you deal with somebody else?
Like you're at a disadvantage if you hire another agent?
Looks that way. It feels that way.
Yeah, it does.
Hence why most guys like James Franklin, he had his agent, and then he's about to get that big deal, and he switches agencies. I don't know, just interesting. Fat Joe texting in. I don't know what Fat Joe's talking about, Conrad.
I think that's supposed to say impressed.
Oh,
I think that was just a big ol' autocorrect there.
okay.
Because he was giving me a hard time yesterday when we were leaving Social Taco